Hello and welcome to Nürnberg Messe's podcast channel. I'm your host Shanakshi Chakravarti, and as you have been following and watching us, we have been speaking to a host of companies across several industries, niche industries where their expertise have mattered the most, especially when it comes to the wood industry, the organic industry, amongst several others. You saw some of our interviews in the India Wood Show, and this year, in its 16th edition in BIOFACH 2024, we continue to speak to a host of brands and companies and people who are constantly working on the ground and ensuring that they're using technology and evolving in the organic industry, in the organic space. Now, what is this? What is the organic industry? Who is doing what? We are speaking to one such gentleman, one such company here at Warkem Agri that was founded in 1978 by a group of technocrats. I am joined in this very insightful conversation with Mr. Dr. Rajas Warke, who is the director at Warkem Agri, which is the organic division of Warkem Biotech. I am here in Maximum City, in the City of Dreams in Mumbai, where we are discussing and we will discuss in deep with Dr. Rajas what it is like to be in this organic space as a company, but more importantly, his vision for the organic industry in India and how India can really position itself globally in the organic industry market. And as you can tell, there is a research lab right behind us because we are here at the headquarters here in Warkem. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajas, for taking the time out finally and joining us in this podcast interview where we will be digging deep into all things organic. So to begin, I want to welcome you and I want to ask you what really made you or the founders of this company find this company and what was really the need to do so?
Before we begin, I would like to thank Sonakshi to interview and BioFACH to take this initiative. Organic space, as they use the word, I would say is true. It's a lot of questions which are unanswered in this space at the moment. And I think Warkem is in a space very close to, I think, what Sonakshi wants her answers on. So the founders of Warkem are from a farming background where actually they did not have any land of their own. We all know that India is an agriculture country or agri-centric country. Yeah, the founders themselves were from farming, and the eldest sibling actually farmed others' land, made the money so that the younger siblings would go and study. They eventually landed up in Mumbai, finishing their postgraduate or their PhD and starting Warkem as one of their companies. However, over the years, as you see, if you come to recent times, over the years, I came back from the US, finishing my PhD in immunology and virology, and joined SP Jain, where I met my teacher for, I would say, agriculture, that is Dr. K.G. Karmakar, who was instrumental in me understanding the grassroots of agriculture on the ground. There are many needs of agriculture which are still unmet, and the use of chemical-based inputs has deteriorated the soil. We had green revolution at a moment in our history, but today, because of overusage of chemicals, many issues related to soil deterioration or quality of inputs are being observed. The space of producing organic inputs has multiple facets. One of them, as I said, Mr. Trambak Warke, who was the sibling who did farming all his life. His younger siblings who started the organization, Dr. Gangadhar Warke and Mr. Vishnu Warke. They started the organization. The second aspect was me coming here, going to SP Jain, having an exposure to the grassroots and the problems of farmers because of Dr. K.G. Karmakar. And the third was my grandfather, unfortunately, passed away due to cancer. Now, we all know now that the produce we eat today has residue in it. And these residues that we consume have a lot of side effects on us. So how to reduce these side effects is linked to reduction of this residue. So this is the basic vision behind why Warkem decided to enter into this organic space. So that's how organic actually was started, and decided we would like to make a difference in what the farmer is using to produce the very crop that we eat eventually.
Right. Thank you for that brief introduction into the founding members of this company. And of course, you are the director at Warkem Agri, which is the organic division of the company. I was reading up a little bit about this division, and if I can just peep into my notes because it does get a little technical now. Warkem Bioagri manufactures top quality hydrolyzed proteins and bases used in various industries such as microbiology, pharmaceuticals, agriculture. Now, for the layman, could you explain what this is? What does Warkem Bio actually do? The agri division, what does it do? I can see some of your products. You've shown me some of your products.
Yeah.
What are those products? How is it really helping the farmer at the grassroots level?
Uh, the concept of starting these organizations was also linked to, today we call it Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Right.
But Make in India was a vision that the founders had from last 46 years in Warkem.
So even before Prime Minister had this vision, Warkem had this vision.
Yes, we had a vision, or the founders had a vision of trying to develop technologically innovative products right here in India, and they should be accessible to all the Indians to start with. It's
Right.
very true. So yes, you can say that we were one of the organizations who thought about this 46 years, or like everybody else. Other than what is it?
Your products.
Yes.
You know, like hydrolyzed proteins
so
and bases. For the
hydrolyzed
layman, if you
proteins-
can explain.
So to explain to you, hydrolyzed proteins, in the list of products I've mentioned, in microbiology, hydrolyzed proteins are actually a nutritional source for microbes. So all microbes, everybody needs food. So microbes also need food.
Right.
And hydrolyzed proteins is a easily absorbable form of nutrition, is most commonly used in microbiology to grow microbes. In pharmaceutical industry, it has many applications. Pharmaceutical industry itself is diversified today. So if you want to produce environmental monitoring or testing of your finished products, for that you need microbial media. So those microbial media's most important component is the nutrition. That nutrition is the hydrolyzed. Or if you are making prebiotics or probiotics, in that also the nutritional source is this hydrolyzed. In agriculture, it has applications both for plant as well as for microbes. So microbes will use this as a raw material to produce the nutrients that it would supply to the plant, while the plant will use it as a raw material directly to produce its own food.
Okay.
So to reduce the stress that the plants will experience, the environmental stress and the physical stress that the plant experiences, this can be mitigated or reduced by actually using these hydrolyzers. So they use as biostimulants.
So, what factors drives good soil health, and why is it important to determine good soil health?
I think soil, as we say, is the soul of microbes and plant. Without soil, you cannot do farming. And soil health is an important aspect, because unless you understand soil health, you cannot decide what is deficient and what is sufficient for the plant.
Right.
Each plant has a different requirement of nutrition. Some plants will have more requirement of phosphorus, someone else will have a more requirement of iron. So understanding soil health is a key factor to understand, one, which crop you can actually sow, or if you want to produce a certain type of crop, what kind of nutrition is required to grow that crop. Soil health understanding allows you to improve the microbial count. It allows you to improve the porosity of the soil, water retention, carbon content of the soil, and also the pH. The three main factors I would say at the top of soil health is the pH, the carbon content, and the microbial count. Once you have all these three in place, you will have earthworms who will do their activity in the soil. And once earthworms are active, that's a very clear indication of a good soil fertility.
Okay.
So,
And what exactly is Warkem Agri doing to address this particular concern of good soil health? What are you doing in
yes,
that?
so very true. Posing the question is important, but having a solution is even more important. So at Warkem, as I said, we are a very science-based organization. So we are looking at two aspects to find a solution. One is on the nutritional side, the nutrition being for the plant as well as for the microbes, and the other is on the microbial side. So soil requires, or you can say that the microbes in the soil are its major activity center. So we are producing microbes which will, once added to the soil, improve the you can say around the rhizosphere of the root, improve the nutritional uptake,
Right.
and supplying this to the roots so that the plant has the sufficiency of the nutrition that they require. If these microbes are sprayed on the leaves, then they do their activity there. Along with that, the microbes also need the food, as I said, the nutritional side. So we also produce nutritional inputs for soil as well as for leaves, so that the microbes which are going to consume them, or the plant which is going to consume them, will be able to utilize this nutrition and do their activity to the optimal.
And if you can take us through your product range,
Yeah.
which comes in picture over here to address good soil health.
Yeah. So it's been, I would say, a very interesting journey to produce all these products. I can say, under the vision of our managing director, Mrs. Saroj Warke, have today the largest offering of organic inputs in the world. More than 120 inputs we produce. And each of these inputs were produced listening to the problems of a farmer. So when we went, the first input was given, the farmer was extremely happy, and so they told us their problems. Listening to their problems, we provided a solution. And that's how we kept on making our inputs. So today, over the years now, from you can say soil conditioners to fertilizers, that is organic fertilizers, to manures, to water soluble fertilizers, to biofertilizers, biopesticides, bioinsecticides, biofungicides, biomicrobicides, gluey pads, pheromone traps, and the most important part, which is a soil testing kit. So as we discussed previously, so knowing the nutritional part of the soil testing kit is a critical test that should be done by every farmer to know what is the deficiency, so that you only add the deficiency requirement. So many times you actually have that nutrition in your soil and you still add that, which is actually not required. So we produce a portable, equipment free soil testing kit which does 16 parameters and is certified by Government of India and is extremely affordable. So all these together allow the farmer from sowing or pre-sowing stage to the harvest stage, at every stage of the crop, replace a chemical input with an organic input.
And coming here, and this is something in continuation to what we were discussing before this interview had started. Dr. Rajas and me were talking about how at some levels India is still not able to capitalize on what is available already. Speaking of which, cultivable land, so much that we
Yes.
have at our hand, at our disposal in our country, as compared to China, which you mentioned is at only 4%. But is still able to commercialize, I beg your pardon, is still able to capitalize and commercialize, in fact, but India is not able to capitalize on that. Help us understand why and what needs to be done, and how a Warkem can come in the picture and maybe contribute its bit, do its bit.
Um, to be able to get a finished product which is of optimal quality, you need to have the inputs which are of optimal quality. You cannot say that I'm going to study less and I'm going to get 100 marks, isn't it? In every exam, if you want marks, you have to study.
Yeah.
Same way, if you want to produce good quality input in large quantities, then what you are going to give to the soil and to the plant as nutrition has to be of that much potency. And I think this is the space where we are missing out on enough good quality raw material for the soil and for the plant to be able to replace the chemical fertilizers and pesticides, insecticides, and nutritional management produce from. There are many suppliers, but the supplier's input should be able to provide the same financially sustainable results for the farmer to be ready to replace those with an organic input. If it doesn't happen, then what happens is the farmer has higher cost as compared to the yield, and suddenly the organic produce you make is at a higher cost. So the space of where you are going to sell also reduces, as well as the quality of the finished produce may not be as good.
So, what is the biggest reason you think India is not able to capitalize on the available cultivable land? And what is the percentage? How much did you say in terms of data?
See, India is a very unique land space. If I'm not wrong, 96% of Indian land is actually cultivable, which is quite unique. In most of the world, you will not find so much of cultivable land. But even though it's cultivable, we all produce cash crops. Means crops which give a lot of money to the farmer. But all these cash crops take nutrition from the soil. They don't give anything to the soil. So if you keep on taking from the soil and you do not give enough nutrition back to the soil, then how do you expect to get the produce? That's where chemical farming came previously. But these chemicals are being processed by the microbes in the soil. You use too much of the chemical, so the microbes no longer are active. Now, if you want to replace this with organic inputs, that organic input needs to have the potency to replace the chemical and give that much of nutrition. If it cannot, then suddenly the yield of the farmer goes down.
Right.
So the cost of production is higher as compared to the chemical.
Okay. What is peptones? This is something that I have come across for the first time. I read on your website while reading up a little bit about Warkem Agri. Peptones.
Yeah, peptones.
And for the common man, for me as well, please help me understand what is it? What is its job?
In layman's term, protein is a more complex form, and if you digest it into smaller bits, it is in a more absorbable, available form. This small peptide form, you can say, is called peptone. So peptone is basically digested form of a protein.
Okay.
And you have many applications for this. And in agriculture, if you add, that's biostimulants are mostly what? These are digested form of protein which is made available to the plant and the microbes. The microbes will take this peptone as a raw material, utilize it to produce the finished product that they want to produce for themselves and for the plant, and supply to the plant as nutrition. And
so it's basically a nutrient to the plant?
Yes, or to the micro, anything.
Or to,
Everybody needs a peptone because it's a protein. Without protein, you cannot have life.
Okay.
So yes, it's a protein source.
It's a protein source. All right. Okay. What are some of the good practices in the Indian organic space, Indian organic industry? When I ask good practices, meaning something that you would have seen practice, an age-old practice that has still continued to to this date and age, and some of the newer practices that you're seeing in the organic space or in the agriculture space?
I have to say that India is trying hard to utilize old as well as combining this with new practices to ensure that organic farming is financially sustainable. This try is being done by many farmers, farmer producer organizations, as well as government institutions or corporates. Rotation of crops is the oldest, I think, is a old, very, I would say, mature and good practice that has been happening in Indian system for a long time. So rotation of crop is important because the more the cash crops you produce, the soil becomes deficient. So you always have to, one, rotate it with a crop which gives. And legumes are a very good example. As you know, we produce a lot of legumes in India. So there is this rotation that's happening. So people are doing legumes with a cash crop later on. So those are the legume crop will give and the cash crop will take from the soil. So this helps the farmer to reduce its cost also of what the cash crop inputs are required, because the legume has given the microbial or the new macro and the micronutrients to the soil. That is one thing. The second is green manuring. So we, cow dung is a big thing. You let it compost for 1 year and then you give it back to the soil. A lot of farmers do that. If they don't have a cow anymore, they buy and add it to the soil. So it gives a lot of carbon back to the soil. And as I told you, carbon, pH and microbes are like the center point of improving fertility. So that is an age-old practice. We used to do it in the past. Then the many farmers sold off their cattle, and now if they don't have a cattle, they buy the cow dung and they're using it. Green manuring, as we call it. Then use of microbes. So now linking this to maybe a little bit of modern sciences, identifying the beneficial microbes, doing a lot of science on them, and then finding those microbes which are beneficial but not toxic at all. Growing these, companies like ours will grow these in a very pure form, but which are sustainable in the environment. Farmer will use this, maybe even grow it to a bigger extent on their land and release it to the soil. So now you have a microbial flora of the soil which is improving. The microbe does a million things like it does in your own gut also. So once you add this, the soil fertility automatically start improving. Other than that, microbes are specifically being used to target pests, insects. So that is also another practice Indian farmers are trying to implement. And I would say the scientific fraternity is working hard to come up with microbes so that the farmers can utilize them on the...
And you are equally part of this fraternity, may I add, because companies like Warkem and individuals like Dr. Rajas himself are working so hard on the ground that it almost took us 2 months to find a date to get this appointment, to sit down and speak to him, because he has been traveling and touring the world, speaking to farmers on the ground, to people on the ground, to dig deeper into the subject of agriculture and farming. And I must personally thank you for it, because it is individuals like you.
I think you're very generous.
No, because I think it is individuals like you who work on the ground and do your bit to bridge that gap. So speaking of which, I want to now ask you, what is that bridge that exactly Warkem is, what bridge are you, putting that, how do I say this? To put it in a more straightforward manner, I would want to understand what exactly is Warkem doing to bridge this gap? What gap are you bridging? And what has been your USP over the years when it comes to your competition as well?
Yeah. I think bridging this gap is a very key factor, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be a leader. At the end, being a leader is a very difficult space because there's nothing in front of you to follow. And this is the space in which we love and we thrive, being in this space. So one important factor that Warkem always does is very stringent quality control. So whatever we produce, at the end of the day, Warkem is ensuring that whatever goes out from whether it's nutritional product or it's a microbial product, or if it's a pest control product. We are doing stringent quality control of these in-house, on the field, before the product is released, as well as after it is released, to ensure that the quality control parameters are maintained. So batch to batch consistency of these products is ensured. The other aspect is, unless you can produce, as I said before, a quality organic input, this is just talk. Right now we're having a talk, but the real story is in being able to replace a chemical in the field with an organic input, and the farmer being able to see the results which are equivalent to a chemical. And that is the space this is the biggest gap, as you can say, that actually is trying to be bridged. The minute you have solutions in organic which can give the same results as chemical, I don't think any farmer is interested in using a chemical. And this bridge, this gap, I think Warkem has been able to bridge the most.
Okay.
That is our biggest achievement. I think we just finished a trial with Vasanta Sugar Institute, and very soon, in the next few months, the result will come out. It's a 4-year trial. Organic sugarcane on organic field against the government dosage of recommended fertilizer, GRDF. We got same cost, same yield, better soil fertility, better soil porosity, better microbial content. So they are very excited. And when the trial was started, nobody believed it was possible, including the team who did it for us. And we told them, don't worry, we are ready to take the risk. And they said, okay, fine, let's go ahead. Because they also had this mandate to come up with something that would be able to replace. And so now the trial is over, and the recommendation will come out under government guidelines.
Oh, and congratulations on that front. While we are at this, and while we speak about organic, how can we not talk about another, as many people call it, a buzzword, but I would personally not think of it just as a buzzword, but a need of the hour, which is sustainability.
Yeah.
You know, half the world thinks that it's just a trend, a hashtag, a buzzword, but sustainability, which is at the core of our business at Nuremberg Messe, sustainability as a subject, as a concept, not just in theory, in practice as well, is at the core of businesses around the world today, not just in India. So I have to also ask you, hence, how important is sustainability for you as an individual who has been studying this subject for so many years, who is an expert in this field? How important is sustainability for your business? Is it somewhere, does it fit the bill somewhere for your business? And overall, what is your take and outlook on sustainability?
I think we overuse this word.
We overuse this word.
We all overuse it. But I think we can sustain ourselves if we sustain the environment at the end of the day. But for the business to sustain, I also have to commercially sustain the business. I would say same thing is for the farmer. So farmer sustainability is if he can spend less and make more money. So everybody has a sustainability question.
Right.
And for last 46 years, our goal or vision or mission, as you call it, to sustain ourselves has been to innovate.
Right.
So we sustain by innovating something and bringing that to the market, so that rather than focusing on price, we focus on what we offer unique to the customer, in this case.
Okay.
So sustainability example, if you look at our plants, all our plants are completely green. Okay. This building is green, where we are sitting right now. It's platinum certified.
Okay. By green, what do you mean? I'm sure he doesn't mean the color of this building. What do you mean by green building?
Green means if we are consuming a certain amount of plastic, in this building, the same amount, minimum the same amount of plastic for its recycling. We are actually spending so that government can recycle that much amount of plastic. So we are a zero environment impact organization in that sense.
So clearly it is at the very core somewhere for your brand and business as well.
Everything, the bottles we use are recyclable.
Yeah.
The plants do not have any effluent discharge, 100% zero discharge plants. So we believe our plants are WGMP certified, ISO certified. So stringency of norms is there in the process as well as in our, I would say, documentation as well as implementation.
Right. Last couple of questions before we end this very, very insightful conversation on this subject. What is ultimately Warkem Agri's mission and vision?
I think why is always the most important question. They write a lot of books about this, and I agree.
Find your why.
Why?
Yeah.
Because unless you know why you do something,
Right.
you actually don't know where you're going. So, to give you an idea, simply, if you define the mission, the basic mission is to improve fertility of the soil forever. Not just like fertility soil, but today maybe my farmer is spending X rupees. I want him to do X minus 1 later, X minus 2 later. It will not become zero. But the fertility should maintain for long term, forever. That's one vision. Second mission we have is India to become the leader in organic produce globally.
Is it possible? Yes or no?
Very possible.
Very much.
Indian people are very ingenious, very creative, very hardworking. I think if they have a solution available, they will never leave it. So if they know that Warkem is ready to work with them to go organic and it's going to be cost affordable, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They are going to try it. That's what comes to my third mission, which is, I think, the critical part of a revolution, as we call it, the organic revolution. Our entire team runs under this buzzword, Warkem's organic revolution. Because revolution cannot be just to the elite. Our goal is to have affordable organic produce. So that is a part of our mission. The produce should be organic. So make in India.
Right.
And if the cost is down, a common man can also afford organic. So that would then bring down chemical residue. Overall, the environment will become less chemical and more fertile, and there will be more sustainability.
And since we are on this topic and you have mentioned and spoken about the farmer a lot, out of personal and professional interest, I would just want to understand from you, what was your take on the farmers' protest? Just in terms of somebody who knows this subject so closely, from the farmer's point of view, from the government's point of view, any comment on that?
I think I will keep it very simple, this question. From my so many years of meeting farmers and working on the ground, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from, I would say, Kutch all the way to Dibrugarh in Assam, we have traveled.
Right.
Farmers want empowerment.
Right.
Governments are trying, and governments have their own complications.
Right.
Protests have many angles to it.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, we need to make the farmer empowered to sell their produce. Today, the farmer buys in retail and sells in wholesale. That itself puts the farmer at a lower, I would say, bargaining power. If the farmer has a better bargaining power, then I think the farmer will get better value out of their produce. And one of those things is if they have access to better marketplaces. So rather than having restriction, they should be able to go to the marketplace, because if India has to become a developed country, obviously farmers who are almost 60% of our population are a part of it.
And
So
you
if-
and we have to empower them
Yes.
to be able to rise up at a global level. India as a country in the organic space, in the agriculture space, it is important to empower them. And do you see that happening?
Yes, well, this very new interesting thing that's happening in farming is you have two types of new farmers that have come up. At least that I've seen. One is the young generation who's educated in agriculture. So they know more and can ask the right questions to the commercial organizations rather than just taking it in. So they question along with taking. And the second is you have people who have made it, maybe or have enough, they think, and then they want to do farming. So tech successful people
Tech
who get into
savvy,
farming
yeah,
and they
entrepreneurs,
want to
yeah.
generate a business, because they have
Business,
realized
yeah.
that organic farming as a space
Is good
is a
business.
value.
It's
Is
good
a
money.
value.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
If you don't know, Indian market is approximately 120 billion rupees at the moment,
Yeah.
and in next 4 to 5 years will be 600 plus. Which other market is growing? The food market. So 30 plus % growth is there in this market in India.
In fact, I was just coming to that. That was going to be my next question, that the market size
Yes.
and the growth of the Indian organic industry in India, if you can shed some numbers on that. And you also mentioned that after defense, it is the agriculture sector, the agriculture industry, that is the second most growing and happening. So if you can shed some light about that.
There is no question world population grows all the time.
Yeah.
So there is never enough food in the world, including in India. So you always have to produce more. Some of the produce is lost during transportation. So you always have X being produced and X minus 1
Right.
being supplied. So Indian market is growing because of many reasons. One reason is that India itself is becoming more affluent, so we can afford more, and hence people are ready to buy quality input. So if you have an organic produce, people are ready to pay, or residue free as you call it, in not only cities but also in the second tier and first tier cities. People are ready to spend because they understand that it's directly linked to their health. Every farmer, not every, I may not say, but most often we find that the farmer will have their field and they'll have a small field for their house.
Right.
And what they use for their house is they don't spray anything.
Oh.
They just grow what grows and they use that. So the farmer also is interested in moving away from this chemical space at the end of the day.
Right.
So organic demand is there. India has extremely fertile soil. The fertility has gone down because of over usage of chemicals. At one time, chemicals brought the green
And
revolution.
industrialization, of course.
Yes,
Rapidly growing industrialization, yes.
Yes, industrialization, and because of that, the exodus of people from
Right.
villages has led to
Yeah.
competent people moving out of agriculture. So, but organic farming as a space or business, food business, is growing at a very high rate in India. Globally, it's around, I think, 15 to 16%. And in India, as I told you, it's more than 30% growth rate.
Right.
So these are good numbers. You see, other industries have a very difficult time achieving these numbers year on year, which is projected for global as well as for India for food. And if you're in the organic space, you are the premium in the market. So you define the market differently. So who doesn't like that? To be able to say that my product is better nutrition, my product is no residue, my product is better taste, has better shelf life, everything better. The user is going to say great, and if once they try it and they like it, it's more than you supplying, there is a demand for the product. So a lot of Indians who export outside India are making very good money, farmers.
And that brings me to my last question as we conclude this interview. Your association with BIOFACH, with the team, the BIOFACH team, and BIOFACH in its 16th edition this year, 2024. We will be seeing you. We will be
Yes.
seeing a lot of you, in fact, at the expo. Your thoughts and comments about your association with NM, with BIOFACH and the team over the last 6 to 7 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Our association with BIOFACH has been very positive. We like to know that there are institutions like us who are dedicated to promoting organic. BIOFACH is unique because it brings government, it brings institutions, it brings the FPOs, it brings the producers like us. Buyers also come there. So everybody's at the same place. And it only allows those to be present in this meetings who are linked to organic.
Yes, yes.
Other than that, there's nobody else who's there.
Yeah.
So the theme is very universal. And for a company like ours, who is more technologically oriented, we may not be so strong at reaching the marketplace. So BIOFACH like organizations as our partners help us to present what unique features we are able to offer to the other stakeholders in this organic chain system.
Yeah.
And we have found that being with BIOFACH has been beneficial for our our organic revolution.
Right.
So I think it's a good match. We are from the technological side, and BIOFACH is from the one who brings associations together.
Yeah, on one single platform.
It does.
Yeah.
It very much does.
Yeah.
So that everybody can get what they want
Yeah.
and know quality. The most important, as I told you even before, problem today is that a quality input supplier, a quality produce supplier, who is the right certifier. So Warkem is certified by the most stringent certifying body called Control Union.
Right. Yeah.
I can tell you, I was in Uganda 4 weeks ago. I had an Australian farmer group, 1,800 farmers he had with him. And he had a meeting with me and was very distant in the initial part of the discussion. After he came to know that we had organic certification from Control Union, he completely changed his communication and instantly he believed. So the minute he saw Control Union certification, he said, I don't have to worry anymore. Said, I was waiting for somebody like you.
Credible
So,
and the authentic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, I meet people like us at BIOFACH who are doing quality work in their own space. So that these meetings are not about cost, but it's about what solutions everybody is bringing in this organic chain.
Which is why, if you recall at the start of the interview, I had introduced you as somebody who is working hard in terms of evolving, but also coming up with solutions using technology. That is important. Organic does not mean to produce organic rice and organic wheat alone, but the technology that goes behind it, the evolution, the constantly evolving methods that go behind it is equally important, and which is why I think Warkem is an industry player there, if I can put it very simply.
Yes, I haven't told you this, but I think the most important part I'm going to tell you now. To be able to replace chemicals with organic, the biggest bottleneck today is to replace urea, DAP and MOP, which is the fertilizers. And now you have the new space of chemical-based soluble fertilizers, as they call it. So fertilizers play a very important role. They provide NPK, without which you cannot have farming or any produce. This space, other than Warkem, so Warkem has become the leader, has been able to replace urea, DAP, MOP without reduction in yield when you are going in the organic space. This actually is a key part to be
very
able to
important.
have equivalent yield
Yeah.
that requires a fertilizer replacement. This is missing with majority of the other players. They may have other inputs, but fertilizer replacement where you can still claim same yield is something that
Only
Warkem
Warkem
can
is
confidently say.
Excellent.
And I think that would be the biggest value we see, because in fertilizers, I may have 5,000 companies
Right.
producing in India. Biopesticides, maybe 1,000. Pheromone traps, 500. Glue pads, 500. So everybody, there's a lot of players to produce. Botanical extracts, also many players. But when it comes to fertilizer, quality fertilizer produced in organic is a very limited space, and we have, I would say, been able
Conquered that
to
space.
conquer that
space.
for
Very
the
true.
farmer. We
Excellent.
really want the farmer
to be empowered.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, with that, we'll come to an end. With your permission, sir. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I can keep on speaking
Of
because
course.
that's my passion.
It is. It
But-
clearly is, and I can tell our audience, our viewers, very confidently that I'm walking out learning a lot from Dr. Rajas, because even off camera and on camera, he just has so much to share and teach and speak about clearly from his expertise.
But before I end, I have to, always, it's an important part. I am representing my team.
Right.
I am only talking.
Yes.
The team is doing all the work. So I would
Absolutely.
really like to thank my entire team.
Please take your moment and thank your team.
Because
Absolutely.
every product, developing the product, manufacturing the product,
Yeah.
doing quality control for it, going to the farmers and convincing them and being with them. It's not that every time we do our trials or sell the product, it works all the time. Because environments change, you have stress conditions. Being with the farmer through all of this, because most often when there is a problem, the company will disappear.
Right.
We tell the farmer, we will be with you when the problem is there.
Right.
So my marketing team, who is there with them through the thick and the thin, I have to give the credit to them.
Right.
It's not an easy space to be in, because when the results are not there, nobody is with you.
Of course, yeah.
But all of these people believe in one mission, which is that we want to generate an organic revolution right here in India and make India the powerhouse of organic produce.
Well, on that note, God willing, that will happen, and why not? India is a booming economy, and we will see India, do very well and fare well, and rise up the organic ladder globally. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajas, for taking the time out,
Thank you.
and I'm just glad that we were able to finally get an appointment with you.
Thank you, Sonakshi.
Thank you, sir.
Because
Thank you
without-
very much. We will see you at BIOFACH.
Very much.
And we will see more of Warkem through our continued journey at BIOFACH at Nuremberg Messe, India. Thanks for watching.